Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting. Let's begin by reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll open this evening with comments from our superintendent.
Good evening. Our student services personnel play a crucial role in supporting both the academic success and the social-emotional well-being of students. Last week, 2 of the finest were recognized for their dedication and ingenuity. Dr. Kristen Lewis, who serves Fuller Elementary and Martin Middle School, was named the district's School Psychologist of the Year. And Vanessa Barnes, the Dean of Students at Millbrook Magnet High School, was named the WCPSS Counselor of the Year. Lewis began an early literacy program to improve reading fluency for students with reading difficulties, and she trained parents and community members and volunteers to help administer the program to 10 students at Fuller. She also leads a group that teaches self-regulation and social skills, as well as a 6th grade middle school adjustment group. In addition to those efforts, she somehow finds time to deliver presentations to parents about anxiety and social-emotional adjustment. Barnes collaborates with Millbrook's counseling team, student support services, and other staff to develop a comprehensive school counseling program. She led an effort to make parent-teacher conferences more personalized and effective. She launched the Futures Summit to help Latino students find college, career, and scholarship opportunities, as well as an academic boot camp to provide essential skills to first-time AP and IB programs. As you know, each of our student services personnel serve hundreds of students, a daunting workload given how critical their work is to student success. We are proud of Dr. Lewis and Ms. Barnes and all who strive daily to help all of their students overcome obstacles and succeed in schools. We have a strong and growing suite of career and technical education pathways to help students become career ready in a wide variety of fields. 2 recent events highlighted our robust CTE programs. The 3rd annual WCPSS Career and Technical Education Signing Day took place last week. Hosted by Baker Roofing, 16 seniors signed letters of intent to work in construction and construction-related careers after graduation next month. Students signed on with Baker Roofing, DPR Construction, American Fire and Life Safety, LL Van Electric, Precision Walls, Inc., and Superior Tooling. Some of these students will also continue their education at Wake Tech tuition-free. And earlier this month, the culinary team of Alyssa Townsend and Amanda Merritt from Apex High School, representing the entire state of North Carolina, took first place in the Southwest Junior Chef Competition. Their winning dish of grilled chicken tacos with mango salsa, black beans, and cilantro lime rice beat out teams from all over the Southeast. And now I'm hungry. With the victory, Alyssa and Amanda were offered full scholarships to Sullivan University in Kentucky. These events provide just a glimpse into all the ways we are achieving our strategic plan goal of producing graduates ready for productive citizenship as well as college and career. Speaking of graduation, it's that time of year again when thousands of students will cross the stage and embark on promising futures. Along the way, every student has had at least a few teachers that were particularly influential in helping them reach this important milestone. The list of teachers to choose from is long, so I invite you all to sit back and watch this video as graduating seniors surprise former teachers with words of heartfelt thanks.
Oh my gosh! Oh. Hey, oh wow, hi. Hey Roman, what's up? Hey! Oh my god. What are you guys doing here?
Thank you. Hey, Miss Cassie.
Oh. Hi.
How you doing? Give me a hug. Oh my God, this is nerve-wracking.
Hey! That's my baby.
Mwah, you look so good. Congratulations.
Oh my God, Miss Crowder. Do you remember me?
Yes.
I'm graduating this year.
Huh?
I'm graduating this year.
Maya?
Hi, Miss Tripp.
I'm so happy to see you.
I'm happy to see you too.
What are you doing here?
So my guidance counselor, she told me that Wake County is doing this thing for seniors where they choose one teacher in their school life that kind of inspired them, and it had to be you. I mean, you wrote my recommendation for me to get into early college and everything, and when I took your creative writing class, that's when I found out that I wanted to write and I would be a journalist.
This is so wonderful.
I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited
Thank you
to
so much.
surprise
You are
you.
so good.
I picked you to show that you have helped me over my life, basically a huge impact over my life. And I just want to show you. You have helped me overcome so much stuff in life, especially dealing with all the medical issues and things like that. You have helped me come out of my comfort zone.
I wanted to thank you for believing in me when I struggled most in school and to become a now honor roll student in high school. Try not to cry, so just give me a minute.
I want to thank you for being there, even when I'm not doing the best, especially in school and in life.
I love you, Bryce.
I came to show you gratitude for what you've done for me since the beginning, since freshman year, since the beginning of Miss Gowland.
You're so sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to get to cry. Isn't this wonderful? Students remember you and how good they are. And, well, this is just amazing. I am so thankful that you even recognizing me. God bless you.
Look at you. They're gonna be so hot. Get all that stuff on you.
Yeah, well, this is like for a gratitude video.
Oh.
Yeah, me showing how grateful I am to you and what you've done for me.
Oh, and I'm so
my high school
grateful for
career.
you. I'm gonna miss her so much.
Yeah,
And her sister Nia too. You're making me cry now.
Don't cry, Miss Bill Patrick.
I was like one of your first students in your class where it kind of motivated me to get through the rest of mine, and I kind of kept that energy with me going through high school, and God, I'm nervous right now. And you're also my first tennis coach besides my mom, but you're the first real coach, so got you a little ball.
Oh, that's awesome.
Coach that started it all. Thank you, Kay.
Oh, no, that's awesome, man. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Appreciate you.
We don't know what happens. How did they do? Did they make it? Are they happy? What were their lives like? And we don't get to know. So we have a lot of wondering if what we put into them, if it made a difference. And do we actually get to make a difference? Did we make a difference? And to know that it made a difference. And he grew up to be such a great young guy. That's why you're here. That's all it matters. It doesn't matter about all the other things. To know that you had a piece and it went with someone and it made a difference.
It means a great deal to hear that you had an impact on a wonderful kid's life, because some days are harder than others, and it just reminds me why I'm here. And this is exactly why I'm here. This is exactly why I'm here. This is why I show up every single day.
Thank you. Thank you. No, it's happening again. I'm so proud of you, and I thank you. This is something I will keep in my heart for the rest of my life. That you've come by and you've given me this wonderful surprise. It really will. I'll be 192, and I will remember today. I will remember today always.
Oh, and remember, when you go away to school, don't forget to write, text, email,
call.
And call. And look, I will take, what do you call it? They don't do it anymore. the phone calls where you have to pay. Colette. Yeah, so you can call me Colette, okay? I'll accept it. For you only, okay? All right.
So, and as the video concludes, it says thank you to everyone who helped our graduates along the way. So that concludes my comments.
Absolutely. What a wonderful testimony. What starts here really does change everything. And over these next, we already had, six graduations down. And what is it, 26 to go, 25, 26 to go. This year we're looking, the numbers say 11,469 graduates will be walking across the Wake County Public School stages. That's an impressive feat, and what has gone on here really is only the beginning. And we're the start. It's a launching board, and it's a phenomenal launching board. And I'm honored as a board that we can be part of that process. I, along with Mr. Haggerty and Mr. Fletcher, had the privilege of being at that CTE signing ceremony. The SHED program has been fantastic, and the signing ceremony is just a great culmination of that. And we are excited about what it could do this year and really look forward to seeing its growth. In addition, last week we had the retirement reception. It was either 35 or 45, and I don't remember which, of our employees are retiring. More than 9,000 combined years of service is retiring from Wake County Public Schools this year. And that experience, that investment will be missed and lost, but there are new generations coming to fill that. But we want to say thank you for the service of all of our retirees, and we really do wish you the best as you go into your retirement. But we know that your service helped make us who and what we are today. So to the retirees out there, thank you very much. Finally, tonight I want to thank our staff, and particularly Superintendent Moore, for the hard work that they did in assembling the budget, as it then became our board's budget. Last night, the commissioners voted. We want to thank them for that vote. I do believe that this year has been both the best budget and the best budget process in the years that I have been on the board. And that really is a thanks to everyone. I think our staff did an outstanding job of providing a clear budget. The county commissioners have noted that, in fact, it was clear. While they couldn't meet the full ask, they met a substantial amount of the ask. And I think this puts us on a very solid foundation to do the work that we need to do to begin to address some of these long-term lifts. So it's been a very good partnership and teamwork all around, and I think we all can be pleased with where we're at. And like I told Vice Chair Ford when we talked last night, the next year's budget process starts tomorrow. But thank you to all who have been involved in this process. This is community work because we're building in the investment in our future. Thank you. Mr. Sutton.
Thank you. The board this weekend on Saturday spent really the better portion of a day doing some important work around looking at the integration of our schools across the district. The board identified some important goals and some non-negotiables around race and poverty in our schools. And our goal is to be very thoughtful in our approach to this work, as we particularly seek to build public will around having healthy, balanced, and integrated schools. So we just ask that you stay tuned to this work as we continue to be more thoughtful about this, as we explore and think about our strategies on how we look to assign students and again ensure that we have healthy, balanced, and integrated schools. So we just ask that you bear with us through this process, stay tuned, and we look forward to continuing our work in that area. Thank you.
Today we'll start with Mr. Haggerty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It was a late night last night with the budget hearings. I want to thank everyone who came out, expressed opinions. Mr. Nieder was there till the wee hours, as was I, so I want to thank him for his diligence. I want to thank Wake PTA, Wake NCAE, Great Schools in Wake County, Wake Education Partnership, all of our BACs, everyone who came out and expressed support for this budget. It's one thing for me to call up everybody and tell them how important I think it is, but it's much more impactful when people hear it from the students, when they hear it from the teachers, and they hear it from the parents about exactly what this budget pays for, all the good that we're doing and what all our needs are. And those are things that are better communicated through parents. I also want to mention it is Gun Violence Awareness Month. I don't know how many know it. Orange is the color. I got my orange tie since I'm got to wear my tie because we're no longer in the playoffs. Gun violence in, I can't speak for all of Wake County, but in Raleigh, city of Raleigh, the Raleigh Police Department stats, up 37% from last year. And for whatever reason, summertime seems to be one of the worst times for gun violence in our community. So if you have an opportunity, there's going to be several events that are taking place in Raleigh and across Wake County just to increase awareness about things we can do to try to reduce gun violence in our community. And so please pay attention if you can. Last time we got together, I want to mention Ms. Scott reached out and talked to the people in the audience, and particularly to a lot of the folks that are here talking about MVP and the math curriculum. And I know she wanted to let you all know that we were listening. And I know sometimes when you sit there and you don't hear a lot of information back, that can seem hollow. And I understand that, and I appreciate that. I want to say that I've been on the school board for just now close to 6 months. And so you all know only a little bit less than I know about what all we can do and can't do as school board members. But I've reached out and I've talked to the North Carolina School Boards Association. I've researched kind of our rules with the School of Government, what we can and what we can't do. And, the board members, if sometimes you talk to us and we seem surprised, we don't vote curriculum up or down. We don't develop the curriculum. That there's a policy level and then there's a management level. And they all tell us we have to stay up on the policy line. So that limits what we can do. But one thing we can do is we can listen. And we have a situation sometimes where we have limited board roles. One of our roles is that when there are formal complaints about policy, these can get escalated all the way up to the board. If we've staked ourselves out on positions, we have to disqualify ourselves, and we can't take positions on those opinions. But then one of our other roles as board members is to advocate and to represent parents and students and members of the community. And so it's a difficult position because when we stake ourselves out on the issue, an issue that could be important to us, we could also disqualify ourselves from making decisions in that process. So I have to choose my words very carefully. But what I will say is, when I go through the process, and I remember when many of you got up here and stood up in front of the crowd for the first time and talked about the experiences you were having. That's not easy. And I appreciate that. And I hope we can have good faith conversations and good faith discussions. I appreciate your honesty with me, and I hope you appreciate my honesty when I come and I talk to you. I've told a number of you that I've talked to directly that when you all came and first talked to me about this issue, first thing I did is I went and I talked to staff about it, and I saw a lot of work that staff had done on the issue. And so then I went to talk to folks at the high schools in my district, and they gave me very different feedback. They had very different experiences than many of you have related to me. They didn't seem to see this as such a, they didn't seem to see that their students were having the same difficulties. And so I wondered what was going on, But it's been several months. And as I've gone out and I've talked to people around the district, not my school board district, but the Wake County Public School District, I've been to high schools where a lot of the parents have come up and have given stories similar to the stories that you all have shared. And so I don't know the extent of these issues across the county. I know that there are more people than those of you that have come out to speak on it. And I know that, whether it's a district-wide issue or it's only affecting some families, all of those families are valuable, and all of those families, deserve our efforts. So I'm going to encourage you to keep reaching out, to keep talking, to have constructive conversations as best you can, like the ones that I've had with many of you. Be open to the comments and feedback you get from other parents, and see where there is common ground. See where there are opportunities where we can all agree something should be done or could be done. What can we do to make things better? It may not be the solution I started with. It may not be the solution you started with. But if we can do something to improve the lives of our students and our schools, that's a positive thing, and that moves us all forward. I want to say that I know sometimes it can get very adversarial, that you think you're not being listened to. There are formal legal procedures that are set up, and when that happens, people tend to get very defensive and lawyer up. But I can tell you that in my conversations and what I've seen, I know that whether or not you agree with their conclusions and their output, I know that staff has worked very hard to address a lot of these problems. They're putting in a lot of time. They're putting in a lot of effort. Again, it might not be producing the results the way that you're looking for them, but I sincerely believe they're making a strong concerted effort. You know that there's a review process going on. We're not part of that review process. We'll learn about it soon. And, I'm holding out. I believe that the motives of the review are good. And I'm going to be very interested to see what comes out of it. And I'm hopeful that what comes out of it will benefit all of our students and address a lot of the concerns that you have. And honestly, it's hard to, like I said, it's hard to talk about these issues and walk that line that we're required to walk. But I felt that you all deserve a response, even if I've kind of had to stammer and I haven't been as articulate as maybe I'd like to be. So thank you.
Ms. Mahaffey?
Thank you. I would like to send congratulations to all of our Track 1 students, faculty, staff. You did it. You made it through the 2018-19 school year. I saw many pictures of our 5th and 8th graders getting ready to move on to the next level, and enjoy your time, whether it be 1 month or 3 months for the first time, as you move into the 2019-2020 school year. That being said, EOG proctors are still needed for tracks 2, 3, and 4. So contact your local year-round school for volunteer information and to sign up. Thank you.
Ms. Johnson-Hostler.
I'm going to publicly thank Ms. Mahaffey. This year I have not decided to proctor because some of you may remember I went to sleep standing up last year. Was not a good fit, so I thought I deserved the year off. So thank you, Ms. Mahaffey. So she sends me pictures, and I feel like, she knows my well wishes are with her as she proctors. Thank you very much for doing that. I've sent a couple of people in my stead, though, a lot of retirees I know, so I feel okay about sending other people to do it. But again, truly a reminder, like Ms. Mahaffey had mentioned, I just had my BAC and we were still being asked for proctors. And so please continue to consider proctoring and remember, our year-round schools are not finished for our traditional families who feel like we're on the end of wrapping up integrate testing. So please consider it. Speaking of my BAC, I rarely talk about it, but I had to say that I have a parent, and now I have multiple principals in my district who grew up in their school. And I have a particular principal who went to the elementary school that she is currently principal of. And my BAC ended at 7, and we were still there at 9 because the principal and her AP were still cleaning their building. And so I say that to say we know the hard work that they do. It's a reminder of all the things that we need, the fact that their buildings are not cleaned every day. But I also think it's, for them, it wasn't a chore. They were enjoying it. I mean, initially they didn't let me help. And I was like, well, I'm a Southerner, so if I'm in your house, I feel like I have to help. And so I think it's definitely important, one, to point out, and Dr. Martin talked about Vandora Springs and their 60th anniversary and how their walls are lined with all the photos. And so I've been joking with the principal that she should take her own picture and put it on the wall at Vandora because she was a student there. And she has a picture in a smaller case in the school. But I think it just speaks to the commitment of what Wake County Public Schools does for people. So we saw that with the gratitude, but for me, and I'm from a small town that I'm not moving back to unless absolutely necessary. So I think it's a reminder that for some people, no matter what, that commitment and what they gained wasn't just a family that they chose, but a family for a lifetime. And so she is very fortunate that she has several students in her school that she actually went to Vandora Springs with their parents as well. And so I like to remind us that we have those kinds of family ties. And then I went on to have my principal at Smith tell me that she went through all the Apex schools, K-12, and is the only person that she ever met besides her husband who went K-12 with her that did not move schools while living in Wake County 40 years ago. So it became a very interesting time for people to share their stories and their lifelong commitments to Wake County Public Schools. And so to Mr. Sutton's point, there is still work for us to do, and I make no excuses for saying that we have a lot of work to do as a district, and that is not to disparage our district. I wouldn't sit in this seat. As you know, my whole family is invested in Wake County, but I also believe in accountability. And the words that I use at my day job to my employees when I'm supervising is I believe in love with accountability. So because I love you, I'm holding you accountable. And that's exactly how I feel about the work that we're doing as a board, and that we'll continue to do as a team committed to doing the hard work, because we do love Wake County Public Schools and we want people to leave and enjoy and embrace and return to say they also love Wake County Public Schools. And that's a lifelong process. So for anyone who thinks they can do it and do it quickly, I challenge you to commit any group of human beings that are 160 plus small people and all the parents and families attached to them. And so I think that's also a reminder that this is life work, and we'll always constantly be trying to make the thing that we love better. And hopefully we'll continue to do that as a community, and recognizing that disagreements or challenges does not mean that we shouldn't do the hard work together. And that's what I got out of Saturday, is a board and staff who are committed to doing the hard work together. And we recognize that our community is an invaluable part of the team for us to make it all possible. With that said, I'd also like to thank our Equity Affairs. I understand they talked a little bit about it today, but many of you know I spend quite a bit of my other lifetime doing social justice advocacy work, and June is also Pride Month. And so I've definitely been hearing from some of the families that I've worked with that have students that identify their gender very differently in our school system, have some success as a result of the work that our equity team is doing. And again, I still have complaints, but I also also, it is also beautiful to hear the other side of when families actually are engaged and can get through the hard spots. And so recognizing that our district is honoring that our students are different, our families are coming to us very differently, and just like that young man didn't know what a collect call was, we are all experiencing things that we've never thought or could have imagined that we'd be talking about or addressing as a public school. So hats off to Wake County for the work that we're doing and the long roads ahead of us to continue to meet the needs of all of our students. Thank you.
Mr. Fletcher.
Thank you. I would like to also comment on our time together as a board Saturday. And I want to applaud my colleagues and superintendent for venturing into some very difficult conversations to talk about one of the fundamental issues that will support greater student achievement for a large portion of our student population. And so the difficult conversations, but when you respect each other and you can share honest opinions without recriminations just because you're bald or you're overweight or you're different, you can get good work done. And so I want to appreciate my colleagues and the superintendent. We had a couple of good facilitators that kept us on time and on target, on task. The value of the work we did Saturday will take a long time to be recognized, but it will be a foundation for us moving forward as a board with both policy and for our staff to move forward with strategies to implement the work of the board. So I want to say thank you for that. And then I'll jump ahead to say one word about our Wake Up and Read group. There's an organization that has counseled the Wake Up and Read Consortium to say that you need to expand your brand, if you will, beyond just simply being a book drive and book distribution, which is a great service for our children. They collected more than 120,000 books this year, and most of them have now been distributed to children in targeted schools where most children would not have a book at home were it not for this program. But then there's the summer learning loss, there's attendance, there's school readiness, there are other issues that this group wants to address. And so they are convening, it's by invitation only, but I do want to tell you about it. They're convening a meeting with the media leadership of our community on June 18 at Bug Elementary School to talk about potential strategies for how we help more of our community understand the need to read with your children starting at birth, not at the first day of school. Starting at birth, and other factors that will have dramatic impact on their success in school and in life. And so how do we as a community provide the education and information that will, and the motivation to encourage caregivers to be more involved in thinking about these things of how to prepare young people for school. And so the leadership group has invited various media representatives to come and to brainstorm how we as thought leaders and volunteers and dedicated professionals can work together to move our community into being much more higher expectations and greater commitment to providing the support for all of our young people to become successful. And so I look forward to that, and I thank the professionals that work for Wake County Public Schools as well as those from other organizations that are working to bring this together. So thank you.
Ms. Kushner.
Thank you, Chair Martin, and good evening to everyone. I also want to thank our commissioners for their finalizing the budget and putting our public education system as a high priority last night. Thanks to all the public who came out in support of our budget priorities, especially those who came and asked for greater mental health services in our schools. They are, as we've been discussing in the last several months, they're very much needed services. And I was so touched by that video. Jane Hemingway, who was with the Broughton student, was my daughter's kindergarten teacher. And my daughter's now 20, and I would say that Jane Hemingway had a huge impact on my daughter's start in K-12. So it was very touching to see her in that video. Well done, communications and students. They did a great job. This Thursday night, I will be at Stow Elementary celebrating 50 years and then closing it down as we, it's the last year in this current building, and Stow will be moving to swing space and then having a new space there on Edwards Mill Road. I'm excited to celebrate the school, its history. Mr. Cox, looking forward to seeing all your students there on Thursday. So best wishes as you close out this week and this year.
Ms. Cash.
I think this has been one of the most emotional few months that I think I've put in for a while. It's I've had some personal emotional issues, but also I feel like the integration of our schools is such an important issue. It was something that Mr. Fletcher and I was very involved in the past, and is the main reason I probably have come back to the board. And I'm so glad that we're addressing that, and we're talking charter schools in District 1 and District 3, and we've got a lot of work on that. And that's right in front of us. Funding our schools, most important thing in the world to me, well, next to my family. But this budget process I feel that we've done has been the clearest, best budget that we could do based upon exactly what we were asked to do last year by our county commissioners. And when you look through the budget and you see I've been carrying this multi-year, and there's even my son's coffee is on here. I've been carrying this around everywhere. We've been meeting all the time with county commissioners. My constituents are amazing in my district, and they are just way ahead of me all the time. But we had the opportunity to meet with at least almost all the commissioners. Some met with us more than once. I'm not going to name. Some didn't meet because I think they really understood what we needed, and I don't think it was just because they didn't want to. Some were way ahead of us, and I appreciate them so much. However, as I listened last night to this to the meeting, I was thinking about the meetings that we had, and I had the opportunity. My advocates were so good about meeting on a regular basis that even some of our teachers, which are wonderful, and some of the teachers I knew and some of the coaches that I feel very strongly about brought some of their custodians to our meetings. They brought a bus driver to one of our meetings. And as I was listening to the commissioners talk, when you look at this, and if you don't support our budget, you're not supporting the final year of the pay to our coaches, and you're not supporting us going forward with getting counselors for our school, and you're not supporting us catching up on our maintenance that is so far behind because we've worked so hard to keep up with growth. And because it was spelled out so clearly in here, if you couldn't understand that, then I feel like you were really not supporting what we had. My most important takeaway last night that I felt, as much as excitement I felt about funding our schools, one of the meetings that I had was, it was a custodian that was there, and what I heard last night from a couple county commissioners saying that we were taking away from the most vulnerable, I wasn't going to say angered me as much, it broke my heart, because they don't understand that the custodians that I met with were the most vulnerable population. And in this budget, we are starting a 5-year plan to bring these vulnerable people up to a living wage. The people that I met with were so vulnerable. They didn't even know the state had given a raise and left them out. They didn't know the county had been given raises and left them out. These vulnerable people, they didn't know they could go to the county commissioner meetings and talk. They certainly didn't know they could bring signs to a county commissioner meeting and talk. So if commissioners want to talk about the ones that did talk about leaving vulnerable people out, they did not see the faces that I met with on a regular basis and a couple months prior to this budget. So I am glad that those that understood what we are trying to do in the school system help support this budget, and I appreciate the county commissioners as we move forward on this budget and do really good things over the next 5 years.
Ms. Scott.
Well, I will keep it brief after some very powerful and amazing things that my colleagues have said. And I just want to share a huge congratulations to Heritage High School. Their girls soccer team won the state championship this year, so that's really exciting for them. And then I just wanted to say Happy Pride Month.
Thank you all. Okay, we're ready now to have a motion to approve the agenda.
Tonight's agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of tonight's agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The agenda is approved. The first item on the agenda is a recognition item. We're very pleased. I believe Marcy Holland will be introducing. Participate Teacher of the Year Awards.
Good evening, Chairman Martin, members of the board, Superintendent Moore. It is my pleasure, truly, to bring to you this evening two recipients of the Participate Global Teacher of the Year Awards. Participate, many of you may know, formerly was Visiting International Faculty. They partner with our district to provide global learning for our students through dual immersion programs, global professional learning opportunities, and cultural exchange teachers, also known as cultural ambassadors. We currently have more than 100 cultural ambassadors in the district in 55 schools representing 15 countries. Participate awards their Global Teacher of the Year award to distinguished educators who represent the diversity of their programs, whether it's dual language, cultural ambassadors, or global education. Tonight we have two of their cultural ambassadors here. So awardees, when I call your name, please come stand to my left. So first, Miss Katie Gurley. In 2018, and I told Katie I was going to let you know, it's her fault I didn't bring her to you last year. She went out of the country pretty quickly at the end of the school year, and then so we missed it. But Katie was awarded the Global Teacher of the Year award in 2018. She's currently a third grade teacher at Stow Elementary School. When asked about her recognition, Participate shared that she stands out as a cultural exchange teacher who's exceptional in implementing engaging, globally relevant content in her classroom, and for her extraordinary dedication to the Stow Elementary students, school, and community. Our second Global Teacher of the Year tonight is Ms. Victoria Wrigley. Ms. Wrigley was recently named on May 15th as 2019 Participate Teacher of the Year. She teaches fourth grade at Knightdale Elementary. I happened to be there when Participate was able to award her this year, and when we walked in, her students began yelling, "Our teacher's awesome." The video's on Twitter if you want to see it, because her principal was there, iPad in hand. And when asked about Ms. Wrigley's recognition, Participate shared she is deeply loved by her students, which creates a powerful culture of learning in her classroom. She's passionate about implementing global perspectives into all areas of education. I think it's also notable that both teachers use social media platforms like Twitter to connect with and collaborate with teachers, often on the other side of the world, to bring the world to their students. I, along with their respective principals who are with us tonight, happily present Ms. Gurley and Ms. Wrigley, your Global Teachers of the Year.
Gracias, danke, merci. Those are my languages. Thank you. In education, and when I travel around the country with some of my work, for the last 20, 30 years, people have been talking about getting ready for the 21st century, and now we're 19 years into it. And everybody likes to talk about 21st century skills. And I keep asking people, so what are these 21st century skills? What is really different about the 21st century as opposed to the 20th century? And it's not technology. My grandmother lived to be 102, and she was born before flight and was able to fly. And if you think about the technology of the 20th century, it was pretty impressive. Yeah, literacy, that's been important for forever. But the one skill I think that is really key is language and cultural awareness. The 21st century learner can travel, can engage in ways that was not as possible in the 21st century. And I know when I did my study abroad in the Dominican Republic and in France, it irritated me that I wasn't fluent because I wanted those other conversations. The richness of any experience when you travel and engage is so much greater when you can interact people to people. The old joke, what's trilingual? Someone who speaks 3 or more languages. Bilingual, someone who speaks 2 or more languages. Monolingual, unfortunately, is American. We are the only developed nation where a high school graduate is generally monolingual. Thank you for your efforts to try to help change that, both in terms of language and in culture, because that truly is going to make 21st century learners. So again, thank you for all you do. We're very proud of you, and we're very proud of your recognition as Global Teachers of the Year. Thank you again very much. All right. The next item on our agenda is public comment. Citizens who sign up to address the board during public comment will be called upon on priority order. We have one on the agenda, and the rest are off the agenda. The on agenda comes first. Each individual speaker will be allowed 3 minutes for remarks. Specific personnel or student matters are not appropriate for this public comment setting, but may be addressed through applicable WCPSS personnel, the grievance policy, or other applicable policies. Our first speaker is Fernando Martinez.
Good afternoon, Superintendent Moore, board members. Fernando Martinez, longtime resident of North Carolina. I want to start this section with appreciations to the teachers. I saw the amazing video, gratitude. It was really well put together, but also shows the value of good teaching, and appreciate the teachers. I also want to say kudos to the Office of Equity Affairs for the amazing work that they're doing. The report at the early meeting, so we want to appreciate being in partnership with the Office of Equity Affairs. Also, I want to speak on 2 specific topics, and first of all, I want you to know that I'm very happy that the county commissioners approve the extra money for the schools. We really appreciate that as well. I am not that excited that my property taxes are going to go up in 10.13%, but I'm willing to pay that. Believe it or not, I like to pay taxes. And because I like to pay taxes, I like to hold institutions accountable. And one concern that I have is that there are $37,838 that are going to pay for each SRO. And in today's agenda, you are actually going to approve contract for Gardner, Cary, and Raleigh. And we don't see any accountability. Perhaps we don't know information that you know, but we're really concerned about the accountability. In the last data available to us for 2016-2017 shows the Raleigh Police Department increasing the arrests for African-American students in 33%. And they doubled the school arrest for Latinx students as well. So when you talk about trust from the community, this is some of the things that you need to consider when we talk about trust for the community. I had no idea what kind of accountability measures are put in place before you renew this contract for these different police departments. And we would like to see accountability. As a matter of fact, we are here in front of you to call for the eventual replacement of school police from the school campuses and put in place alternatives such as peace builders, school counselors, and other type of community intervention workers. In the past, we have shared about the peace builders, and we would like for you to continue considering, as you speak about the budget, to pilot the peace building program for peace builders. At the same time, and I know I only have 20 seconds, but I want you to know that today's Immigration and Customs Enforcement also holds some race and went after the community. We don't really know numbers right now, but our community is being terrorized once again by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And I'm here in front of you 2.5 years after we asked you to put in place policies to protect undocumented students. Thank you to the superintendent who took the courage to put the guidance together, the regulations, Mr. Bloomberg. I'm about to finish, but I want you to know that we would like to see some policy in place, and if you want some of the immigration attorneys to come back, we'll be happy to make that happen. One more thing, Mr.
Please,
Bloomberg.
time. We have to try to have all speakers stay the same. If I make an exception for you, I have to make it for other people. Please, your time is expired.
Okay.
You'll have another chance another time.
I would like to follow up with your office at a later time about the statute to put SROs in schools because we couldn't find it. None of the attorneys that I work with couldn't find it. I will follow up with your office.
Thank you.
Karen Carter.
Hi, I would like to express my huge disappointment as a parent. You all say every student, every day. Well, you all have completely forgotten my daughter and every other student that you have allowed to suffer in an MVP math class despite receiving emails from me for almost 4 months. Material objections and data providing MVP is a disaster around the country. Superintendent Moore, you are the leader, yet I have asked specific questions and have not received a response. I understand some of these were sent well before the material objection, and I'm very concerned. Your silence is concerning, and you talk about wanting an open dialogue and wanting the trust of parents. This is not the way to get it. Where is the accountability for every student every day? The following is a personal story of Kathleen Neef, and I apologize if I say that wrong. We are a family in Wake County that currently has 2 students who participate in the MVP program at various levels this school year. While my children are vastly different as far as learning and interests, both of their struggles to achieve and be successful with the MVP curriculum are oddly similar and unfortunate. My daughter is a sophomore at Green Hope High who took MVP Math 3 honors this school year, which turned out to be a complete disaster. I cannot honestly say that she has learned anything in the class, and this is with a private tutor that she met with at least on a weekly basis to teach her some of the math concepts. My A student worked extra hard just to pass this MVP in Math 3 class and ultimately received a 77 after months of crying and frustration. I do not feel this is reflective of her math ability at all. I do think it's reflective of a situation where she is told to learn from the peer sitting next to her. I do not understand how it's possible for students to teach each other new, higher-level math concepts. She no longer believes that she has the skills to complete in higher-level math that is needed for the medical career she had hoped to pursue, and is rethinking her major for college as well as the colleges she now believes she can attend. Along with a cohort of her peers, she has dropped out of pre-cal and will now be taking an academic-level math class, which is the absolutely wrong place for her to be. Yet she emotionally could not deal with the stress of trying to learn math on her own any longer. My son, on the other hand, is an 8th grade student at Martin Middle and has been in a year-long Math 1 MVP class. As a result of the difficulties in understanding how the curriculum is presented, he has also been in a math support lab all year long. What I've seen for him is that while we complete the actual math concept problems, when you make it about word problems, he struggles to attend to all the parts. The pace and disorganization of the materials being presented has been a challenge, as the focus of the material and problems would change from day to day, and he definitely would be best served in a class where one concept is targeted repeatedly for practice.
Sandy Joyner.
Good evening. Good evening.
I'm reading the rest of the personal story. I thought that would be a good idea since we ran out of time. Again, his grades are extremely poor in the class, and I'm not even sure at this point if he will receive a passing grade. This is a student who currently has A's and B's in every other class he is taking. I cannot believe that given what I know about his abilities and intellectual capacity, that he is incapable of learning math. I do feel very strongly that this is a problem with the curriculum. The big picture, I am very concerned that we are setting up the vast majority of our Wake County students to fail at math. Based on the data I'm seeing, other parents I have spoken with, as well as the grades of my own students, it looks like a huge subset of our middle and high school students can no longer understand math and have, out of the blue, become learning disabled in math. Can this be true? Absolutely not. This is a complete and total failure of our new math curriculum. I understand the need to be 21st century problem solvers in all areas, including math. However, our students can only be problem solvers when they fully understand the math to be able to apply it to problems, and we are nowhere near this level of application at this time. It's time to admit failures in the rollout of this curriculum and help students succeed. Okay, then I have another one. This is from a lady who has two children, both Math 2 honors at Green Hope. Both have been A students every year of their school.
If I could apologize,
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry to interrupt on it. We've allowed parents to talk about the experience for their own child.
Okay,
But
all right.
if you're talking about another child, then you're getting into confidential materials about different students, and so that's not permissible.
Okay.
Sorry for the interruption.
That's it. That's okay. But anyway, and then I also wanted to thank Mr. Hegarty and Ms. Scott and Ms. Kushner for meeting with us, and really appreciate it. Let y'all listen to us. Thank you.
Zoe Lamb.
Good evening, everybody. As you can tell, I'm not from this country. I just wanted to address myself. I've lived here 19 years. I've had a lot of faith in the education here. I've had a lot of confidence in the education here. But I have to say this year has been completely and utterly different. After living here 19 years and putting my children through the public school system, I based a lot of faith in your curriculum. However, I have a Math 2 honours student currently in 10th grade at Green Hope High School. Unfortunately, he is suffering from depression right now, and it is curriculum-based. He is a straight-A honours student. He has been dedicated to the curriculum of North Carolina, based in Wake County. We have moved from house to house based on your education and dedication to our children. We are currently undergoing our daughter committed to her education and completing her 8th grade year at Davis Drive Middle. I also am an educator, and I've based a lot of faith in the curriculum here in North Carolina. And I have to say, I'm deeply emotionally, as you can see, beyond speechless. My son has gone from, like I say, straight honour A's to a platform of a C. He studies. He is sleeping a lot this week because he is so down. I'm sharing this confidentiality with you tonight as a mother, an educator, and a wife. And I am deeply moved by something that has been implemented, and I do believe that our children are not getting a voice, and they need to have a voice. And there needs to be educators going through the schools to be able to understand what is actually getting taught. And I feel our children are being submitted like guinea pigs within the curriculum. And I'm sorry to attain this matter tonight, but I can't take this any further without letting you know what's going on. Please, go be the eyes for these children. Go be the ears for the education that you're implementing in Wake County. I would love to have trust in the education system here, but I'm having a lot of doubts. Thank you.
Blaine Dillard.
Let me state first unequivocally.
Could we have these, since he hadn't made enough copies, could we have these passed around now?
He's got one this time.
Oh, there's only one, okay.
I saw him go
all
right
right.
there
Never mind.
last week, so my time's going up because I'm talking about this. Let me first state unequivocally, I do not trust anything these people to my right say or write regarding MVP. I'm sorry to be so harsh after we tried to not be. Nothing. Not only do I question their integrity, I also question their common sense. Let me tell you why with one example. Do they not know that public records requests have to be responded to promptly and truthfully? Do they not know that also that public requests for emails might have another party involved who also might be a subject to the public records request? Back in April, I interviewed an Alpine math teacher, and this person receives students from the junior high teacher where the MVP founder is a teacher. I spoke to this person, and they completely threw MVP under the bus. It was a damning testimony from a real teacher closest to the students coming from the expert of MVP. I documented that testimony and the material objections that parents have filed. But lo and behold, weeks later, this teacher emailed me and completely retracted their testimony and asked me to delete their comments that they'd made. This teacher followed up with me 3 times in the subsequent 24 hours to make sure I deleted that information he gave me. I suspected witness tampering, so I put in a public records request to Wake County. Weeks later, I was told by Tim Simmons there were 3 emails. 2 were confidential student records. The other was the one I sent. The other one was they actually sent to me. That email was an apology letter from Dr. Tillery to a different teacher at the junior high referring to me and my isolated experience. So on May 16, I wrote back to Tim and asked again for all the emails. I copied you all on all this. You can find that email. Mr. Simmons wrote me back and assured me that the 2 other records were confidential student records. So you know what I did? I went to Alpine and did a public records request there. And guess what? The same retraction that was sent to me by that teacher was also sent directly to Dr. Tillery, profusely apologizing about talking to me and promising that I had taken the file down. That email was copied to the Deputy Utah State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Ann Travis Lemon. And true to form, Dr. Tillery wrote back and expressed regret to this teacher that I brought this situation. So the response I got back from Wake was an outright lie and an attempt to cover up testimony gathered by a citizen taxpayer in this county about a formal complaint regarding our children's education. Have you no shame, Dr. Tillery and Mr. Simmons, betraying public trust like this? This is unacceptable, and in my opinion, both of you should be fired.
Kimberly Wood.
Good evening. You know, I've been thinking a lot about how difficult your jobs are and how you'll never satisfy everyone. Well, criticism comes with the territory, and as you suspect, criticism is coming again this evening about MVP math. You seem determined to keep this curriculum with a parent workbook sitting in the schools for all high schools next year. As you've heard before, this is a bad idea. You're backing the wrong horse. You can offer no defense with substance for using MVP math. It's a proven disaster in multiple districts nationwide, and I provided those examples 2 months ago. So it is with MVP in Wake County. Otherwise, you would publish the scores and data. The ones you did publish had to be removed because they were alternate facts, a phrase I never thought I would have to say in front of this board. Even your hand-picked supporters are saying 60% in an MVP class is good. In what universe? In our real world, we disagree. 60% is a failure. It always has been and always will be. Another teacher quoted in the N&O said the process was more important than right answers. Where? You want to call that into the ECT and SAT scores? Don't worry, folks. They understood the process. Don't worry about the wrong answers. The defense that you like most is the ideology of it. We've already gone over that. You know what to say, and you're really good at saying it, but you don't know what to do. Even this weekend, you said you would move forward with programs if your constituents didn't agree. And that's a good thing to say, kind of, in theory. It's also good when you say you want more homologous schools, even to the point of similar percentages for poor kids. I'm sorry, you want to call them economically disadvantaged to soften that? At every school. But perhaps, do you even have a method for approaching this? Maybe abolish neighborhood schools, increase more busing? Yeah, that's going to play in Wake County. But the concept sounds good. We can get behind the concept. Well, at some point, you decided that MVP math sounded good too. But the proof says otherwise. And the more we learn of MVP, the more this becomes obvious. MVP sold you a mink and delivered a possum. You want more balance in schools? Well, when you have a program like MVP, the parents with means will go to any means necessary to remove their kids from the school or go to charter, private, or homeschool. Or you'll have parents willing to spend thousands in tutoring. Those are the parents with means, and you're running them off. Your teachers are trying to overcome these math deficiencies with their hands tied. And no matter how you manipulate the scoring, the end of year testing will show failure that this has become. And we know that figures lie and liars figure. Don't manipulate the numbers and just tell the truth. You can be assured that we're frustrated, and I'm asking you to do something different because what starts here changes everything.
Carrie Blay.
Hello again. Based on the experiences of my son in the last 2 years in math class, what keeps me coming back to this podium and what keeps me up at night is that if nothing changes over the next year, this is what I can predict from my autistic daughter. When the kids break off into learning groups to collaborate on math ideas, 28 middle schoolers talking at the same time will be loud. That noise will be like hail on a tin roof to my autistic child, and she'll start to ask to bring her earmuffs to school, even in August, and then she'll start getting bullied for that. My greater fear is that she'll have no internal concept that her classmates are being mean to her. She may think they're still her friends, and I hope the sadness of that sinks in for everyone listening today. Immediately, my daughter will have homework she can't understand. The next day, she'll probably ask her table mates for help with those problems, and more than likely, she'll be accused of cheating by her teacher, like my son was this year. But unlike a neurotypical child, she really has no concept of distinguishing between your definition of a peer group environment learning versus teacher learning versus facilitator learning. Who should she go to for help then? Being accused of cheating and breaking the rules will hurt my autistic child terribly. Noise, ambush testing, random grading, cheating accusations, ambiguous environment and rules. Any one of these situations and a dozen more that I can't explain in 3 minutes will cause my child to break one day. And in case you don't know what that looks like, a child on the autism spectrum doesn't just become sad. It is a complete system shutdown. It is like watching someone's entire soul crumple up like a piece of paper. And I will hold her till she stops crying because she goes into the darkness now, processing, making new rules for why whatever happened just happened. And when she stops, I go into the darkness to get her back. And I will quietly and slowly try to coax her back to me. The next day she'll get ready for school and she'll say her stomach hurts. Math is first period, and she will magically feel better 25 minutes before second period, because she's already calculated 5 minutes for the mommy talk, 10 minutes for the drive, 5 minutes for the stairs, and 5 minutes for her locker, because she's smarter than every single person in this room on our best day. Math class has now created an emotional environment that she cannot process, so she will not go back. Can you blame her? I'll ask for a 504 and you'll deny it. I'll ask to have her IEP reinstated and you'll deny it because the Individuals with Disabilities Act that protects my daughter only protects her so far as she is offered a fair and appropriate educational opportunity. And if every child is being denied clear math content, then North Carolina is legally in line with their requirements, sad as the truth may be. can't read the rest.
Peter Blank.
This is now the third time you've seen me limp up to this podium to talk for 3 minutes to you about MVP math. My right leg and foot are throbbing right now because I've been sitting here patiently waiting for my time to speak again. I tell you this because I want you and everyone else attending or listening to understand the level of commitment all of us here have to this topic and the depths that I am willing to go to start a productive conversation about ways we can make the current situation better. Ways like creating supplemental materials for students who don't learn the way you want them to within the construct of this current curriculum. To give you an example of why I feel there's a massive need for visual learning tools to supplement the current curriculum. My son's class took a quiz a month ago. My son scored a 35%. For current grade recovery standards, he has to retake the quiz. Instead of getting review material, studying, and retaking the quiz, he was told to wait, take the test in a few weeks, and see if he can score above a 70% on the unit test. If he did, the teacher said that grade would show mastery, and she would automatically change his poor 35% quiz score to match whatever his test score was. So we waited a month, and we finally received his test score of 64%. What next? His teacher forgot until the students asked about raising quiz grades, and currently it looks like his 35% was changed to a 64%, at least for now. After 3 years of dealing with the school on math and grades, we were tired and determined that 6% was not enough delta to raise a fuss. So with the quiz grade finally determined, we turned to the retake of the 64% test. He asked for study material today in class. I have a pretty good idea from the experience that the best case scenario will be my son brought home the same review sheet he was already given the first time. The same one that the class didn't get the answers for the first time due to them running out of time to go over it in class. I ask you, how is my child supposed to perform better on the test this time if nothing has changed since the last time he took it, other than the fact that it is now a month later and he has had no further review? I get this is a sensitive topic involving passionate people on both sides. I understand that when tempers boil over, people on both sides can pull back and stop being open to hearing the other's view. But what I'm here to tell you is if we don't start talking now about how to make the situation better, what may seem like a small, manageable group before you at these meetings is going to turn into a massive wave very quickly. And more parents, as more and more parents start to actually pay attention to their kids' grades or have their second and third children enter this math system or start to see the effects that a culture of failure in math has on their children's confidence and psyche, they will reach a point where their fear of speaking at this podium or their fear of retributions being levied on their children by the school or their fear of whatever is keeping them from speaking up no longer keeps them on the sidelines. Thank you.
Natalie Johnson.
Thank you for your comments.
Hi, I'm currently a sophomore at Green Hope High School. Can I take a minute to talk about how stressed this year has made me? This has been one of the most academically stressful years of my life. I have been pressured all year to get good grades by my parents, but it gets to the point where it brings your confidence down as a teenager. I know my friends have parents that pressure them to get good grades too, and it puts a lot of pressure on them. MVP just adds to this stress. I moved to North Carolina at the beginning of freshman year. I was in Math 2 honors, and there was only an introduction of MVP given to us. The way we were taught was that there would be some notes on the board that we would copy down. After, the teacher would put a problem on the board that we would have to solve without going into any detail of our notes. I wasn't used to this learning because I came from a school that didn't teach Common Core. I passed Math 2 honors with a D, but I was very worried for Math 3 honors. I switched to academic because I didn't want another bad grade. When I switched to academic at the beginning of the year, we were handed these books, or the MVP packets. Most friends told me their teachers didn't teach them any of the math. They had to teach themselves. I was very scared. When I went to class, my teacher would tell us we needed to figure it out on our own, but then she would give us notes and teach us in depth. I passed with a very high B, almost an A. I only got this grade because our teacher taught us and went a little off the MVP course. Now, they think students should figure it out on their own because they expect us to fill in the gaps. My counselor recommends me not to take pre-calculus, even though I need it for my career I'm trying to pursue. The career I'm trying to pursue involves a deep understanding of math, which I don't believe I have. I'm very worried. I have a D on my transcript, and there's nothing I can do to change that. Because of this curriculum, my grades have suffered, making me stressed about what college will accept me. I've spent all my time trying to reteach myself that I have lost track of some of my other courses. I just want my math grade to be at an A, and I've strived so hard studying every night up until 3 a.m. just to make sure I understood it for my test. Even though I did that, it never stuck. I never understood it. Now I'm a rising junior, and I'm worried when I take my ACT, I will not be able to get the high score I want in the math section because we are not prepared. The teachers are not preparing us. I fear that on the math section for the ACT, that will ruin my chance into getting a good academically strong college. So to conclude, I don't think MVP is right for me or anyone else who wants to make it into college. I'm just really worried that the MVP curriculum has made students depressed because their grades won't go up, just down. I know a bunch of straight A students who now have a C or a high D. MVP is making students lose motivation and stop trying because they can't do it. Our Math 3 final didn't count this year, but I'm sure if it did, you'd see a low passing rate. I urge you to make changes now so Green Hope high academic rates don't go down any further than they have this year. Thank you.
Kristen Beller.
Hey, good evening, board members, Superintendent Moore, and staff. My name is Kristen Beller, and I'm the president of Waken CAE. And I know that many of you are probably feeling like me, and just like a mixture of relief that part of the budget process is over, some pride that you have been through a really solid process that moves us in a budget that's moving us towards the schools our students deserve. We certainly have a lot of work to do, but I wanted to come tonight and thank you for the way that both the board and staff listened very diligently to feedback from educators, worked to integrate that feedback into your proposals, and even took an active role in attending public hearings and talking with the commissioners and advocating for this budget. I'm also coming to you today because our ESP members, our educational support staff, I'm coming to advocate on their behalf that as you look forward and make adjustments to the budget, that you keep those non-certified staff increases a priority. Because, as we heard Mr. Nieder say tonight, the House and Senate have certainly left them out of any kind of reasonable wage raise. And I talked to some of them today. I got phone calls and texts that express a lack of feeling valued by our General Assembly. And I know that that is not the local's responsibility to fill in all of those gaps, but you do have the power to make a difference in our folks, because these are our folks, our local folks' lives, by keeping that salary increase a priority in whatever budget adjustments are made. And so I'm coming tonight just to share that with you, to share that that's already on people's hearts and minds, that they are worrying about that, and to advocate for you to continue to keep that prioritized. And I know that it's a new area of funding, but we hope that there are some places that we can make adjustments that will allow our non-certified staff to have a little bit of an increase and help them move towards that living wage. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, and that concludes public comment.
Chair Martin, I'd like to move approval of the consent items as listed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify.
Dr. Martin.
I'm sorry, Mr. Fletcher.
I'm in support of it, but I'm trying to. There's something I wanted to comment on. I'm sorry. Let me find it. Oh, in the facilities, item B, we're approving a memorandum of understanding of how our facility staff and the county's facility staff work together to continue to support our 7-year rolling capital plan for both renovations, new construction, and other capital needs. And so I'm happy to see us move forward with a revised, updated articulation of how our staffs work together. It's been productive for the last 5 years, and I'm glad to see it continue.
Thank you. Likewise, that has been a very strong partnership. Any further comment or discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of supporting the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. Thank you very much. The consent agenda is approved. The first action item is, we have 2 action items. We have the Board Policy 3400, evaluating student progress, shorthand grading policy, and Mr. Cook.
Good evening, Chair Martin, Superintendent Moore, Vice Chair Sutton, and members of the board. This evening we bring to you 2 related policies for approval and first reading. Listed first on the agenda is Policy 3400, Evaluation of Student Progress. Policy 3400 is a current policy that is being revised with the addition of language in Section A-3 to ensure consistency and alignment with the new Policy 4310 Honor Code. The revised policy was discussed at the board work session on May 20th and then reviewed by the Policy Committee on May 28th. At this time, we submit the revised Policy 3400 for board approval.
Chair Martin, I move approval of Policy Code 3400, Evaluation of Student Progress.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just first reading, of course.
First reading. And the change, is to, as Mr. Cook said, was in A3 that would allow the grades to continue to be clearly not punitive in nature, except for as part, and then the next sentence references the new honor code.
Right, and that's not punitive for the honor code, but it's in dealing with the honor code. Right. Absolutely. Seeing no further question or discussion, all those in favor of passing this policy on its first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. It is approved. We now move to a new policy, 4310, our honor code.
Yes, sir. The second policy we bring for your approval and first reading is Policy 4310, Honor Code. 4310 is a new policy. The development of this policy has involved a collaborative effort that included input and feedback from multiple stakeholders, including teacher representatives from the Superintendent's Teacher Advisory Council, students on the Superintendent Student Leadership Council, K-12 principals, and district staff across several central services departments. The policy was discussed and reviewed by the superintendent's leadership team on 3 separate occasions in March, April, and May of this year, by the Policy Committee on April 25th and again on May 28th, and by the full board during work sessions on May 7th and on May 20th. At this time, we submit new Policy 4310 for board approval.
Chair Martin, I move approval of Board Policy 4310, Honor Code, on first reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Ms. Mahaffey.
I think this just highlights the board's commitment to setting an expectation. I want to thank Ms. Kushner for leading this charge and staff for following, because it's not always easy when we throw things at you like that. But just knowing that this is an iterative process, and as we see it grow and shape and change, and it'll be interesting to see what comes from this, and hopefully it's positive and at expectation setting rather than punitive.
And I want to thank staff for your effort to reach out to the broad constituency, from students to teachers, administrators, and whatnot. I think particularly for this kind of policy, but in general for policy, it's very good to have that kind of broad feedback. So thank you for that effort. Seeing no further discussion or question, all those in favor of approving this policy on its first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. The policy is approved on its first reading. I'll now entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Move to go into closed session to consider confidential personnel information protected under GS 143-318.11, A1, A3, and A6, and 115C-319, to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in GS 143-318.11, and to consider confidential student information protected under GS 115C-402 and the Family Educational and Privacy Rights Act 20 U.S. Code 1232G.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of going into closed session for the reasons as stated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. We will now go into closed session. Thank you.